Thank you all for coming to another Agora talk. I would like to very, very wholeheartedly welcome Sonia Morgentalova from MIDPOINT Institute and our beloved Juliane Schulze. They're going to give us some advice about how to get money, basically. I mean, we need to talk about how to find money all the time in this industry. So we do our best to do as many talks about these things as possible. I would like to really thank the Municipality of Thessaloniki for lending us this wonderful space. And I'm very happy that we're having this ongoing collaboration with MIDPOINT Institute. Thank you so much for supporting us and for coming. With no further ado, I will just leave you to the wonderful hands of Juliane and Sonia. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Thanos. We are also very pleased we can have this wonderful collaboration with Thessaloniki and Agora. Good afternoon, everyone. As Thanos mentioned, my name is Sonia Morgentalova. I work as a program coordinator in MIDPOINT Institute, and we are curating this Agora talk this afternoon. As you can see, the title is Alternative Financing, Unlocking the Full Financial Potential of Independent Films. So what you can expect in these roughly 90 minutes that are ahead of us, I will shortly introduce you in more detail our dear Juliane Schulze, and afterwards we will be joined by 4 producers, alumni of MIDPOINT Institute, and they will also share their experience or take on alternative financing, and of course, towards the end, we would be really happy to open the floor also for questions or comments from the audience. So if you will have anything you would like to ask, you can prepare for the last part of this session. Before we start with Juliane, I prepared just really briefly some short presentation about MIDPOINT Institute for those of you who are maybe not familiar, or maybe there will be still something new you haven't heard about us. So MIDPOINT is a training and networking organization based in Prague, in Czech Republic. As you can see, on this slide, we are celebrating 15th anniversary this year. We are really excited about that. You can see some great numbers on this slide with our successes. We, as an organization, offer a wide portfolio of training programs for script development, for project development, and also skills development of different film professionals. On next slide, you can see the overview of the current programs that we offer to the industry. I will not go into details. There is this QR code you can scan, and you can maybe check some of the programs on our website. Let me just shortly say that we offer script and project development for feature films, for short films, for series, different type of series even, and as for skills development, we train aspiring script consultants, development executives. Newly, we also introduced a workshop focusing on AI and how film professionals can use it in their daily practice. Last but not least, we also offer on-demand services to companies or to national film centers or even producers associations. For example, in the coming months, we actually have 3 of those on-demand workshops upcoming. We are going to Zagreb to have a workshop for Croatian filmmakers developing short films. We are going to Slovenia to help Slovenian filmmakers with development of features. And we have really exciting workshop happening in Ukraine, in Lviv, end of November. I saw somewhere among you Simone Bauman. Hello, Simone. We are going there together. This is for on-demand services. Yeah, and we also this year in Berlin we introduced this talent database, which is called MIDPOINT Talent Connections. This is also a tool for you, professionals from the industry. You can again scan the QR code. Basically, this database is full of profiles of script consultants and writers. So if you are, for instance, a producer that is looking for a writer either for film or series who is like focusing on crime or on some different genre, or is able to work in a certain language, you can check the profiles. First you have to create your profile and log in, but then you can approach these professionals through the database. So this is a free service from MIDPOINT to the industry. All right. So that was what we offer. Besides training for producers, because this is also a very important part of our portfolio. Actually, here in Thessaloniki, we are for the second time with the workshop which we call Company Time. This is a workshop for producers attending our feature lunch program. Sometimes we also open it for more participants from different programs, looking at you, Maya, hello, from Focus Queer. Inspiration for this Company Time workshop came a few years ago when we conducted research among students of production department at FAMU Film School in Prague. Basically the aim was to find out what they felt is missing from their formal education. And it turned out that many young professionals were looking for more knowledge on how to develop their own businesses and to create sustainable companies. So then after the research, we consulted and brainstormed with our friends from EAVE, and we came up with this training module called Company Time, which support producers in company sustainability and strategic business planning. A few years ago, we turned to Juliane Schulze. So Juliane is now the head of this program, helping the producers with those tasks. And also earlier this year, we also explored with the producers in the program the area of alternative financing, which can often be a handy tool when you are trying to close your budget. I think that was moreover everything from my side. So let me now just introduce a little bit more Juliane. Juliane is a strategic creative economy expert in business, finance, investment and sustainability from Germany. And Juliane spent over 3 decades helping creatives and companies to navigate crossroads of culture, business and finance. She was a board member of the investor network Media Deals and also senior partner in consulting company Peaceful Fish. And currently, besides MIDPOINT, she also advises at different European institutions on the creative economy and sustainability. So, Juliane, I will now pass you the word and also the tablet. So please, if you can share a little bit of your knowledge with us.
Thank you very much, Sonia. You survived a long title. That was the most difficult part of the afternoon. So it's fabulous to see you. It's a great honor and pleasure to be here with you, and thank you for the fabulous introduction, which makes me feel something happened in these more than 30 years. Just forget about the decades, because it makes me older than I feel. However, somehow things accumulate, and actually I want to share a few learning experience in the area of alternative financing, of course, with the perspective of adding other sources of financing to your financing mix. So this is the whole idea. So of course it is difficult to say, well, I can do it all with alternative sources, even though it happens, but it's rather the exception than the rule. So what I would like to do with you to gallop through some sort of mix own experiences as a consultant in this area, working on financing solutions, investment opportunities for investors, and of course financing opportunities for film producers, and go through some stuff that probably resonates with you and said, yeah, of course, I know about that. So a lot of things will sound familiar. A lot of things might be like, what? You must be kidding, what is this supposed to be? So I hope to surprise you here and there and hopefully confirm a few of the things you already know and contemplate on. And I would like to highlight something Sonia already said. We see this like a space in which we all can use the time we have together to exchange. So it would be fantastic if not only we do the talking and the knowledge sharing and the contradictory experiences, basically, but if you would also begin to think about stuff that you might be happy to share with us, because you cannot imagine how amazing Q&As can be, if we want to call this Q&A, I would call it not that, but anyhow, what amount of knowledge there is usually in people that they never really talk about. So this would be a fantastic opportunity to share, to discuss with each other, to hear from your side also what happened when you tried things, what worked, what didn't work, what was a positive experience, where do you want to go, what would you like to test, are there things you would like to try out? Connected to that, are there particular questions that we might be able to answer because of very different sets of expertise you will then hear. So please have that in mind and do not, and this is an order, I'm German, do not be shy. You will not leave this room without not having said anything, okay? We understand each other, that's great. So that's basically what I wanted to bring across, because this can be super informative. It can help you connect to each other. Said, you said this, you had done that, can we talk? Let's go in this direction. And let me kind of start my tour de force through a couple of stories which, as I said, have partly to do with my own experience, partly not, and I think in the end it doesn't matter. So the first kind of set of examples I would like to share with you go in the direction of private project financing. This is in many cases what film producers are most concerned with. How, where, in God's name, do I find money for my film? Good. Fair enough. Some colleague of you in London had the exact same question and had, of course, begun to work on a very good script, a very compelling exposé to present a project that actually tells the story, the true story of a Jewish prisoner in the ghetto of Warsaw, successfully escaping. So a very interesting angle, because you know the stories of the victims and all that we know, but a prisoner who's able to escape the ghetto, that's a very interesting thing. So they reached out to the typical public funds in the UK and were able to secure this and that. But that really didn't look like a promising road. And then they remembered a course we did with the producer. They said, okay, let's try something else. So they researched Polish business people in London and understood after that research there are plenty of people and began to package a presentation with the exposé, short, brief, spot on, sending it out to the people, to the emails they were able to gather, personalized emails, saying, this is what we want to do. Please, if you are interested, write back to us. We are looking for private equity. And dozens and dozens of emails later, and not knowing if anyone would ever respond, and if all this goes into the void, there was one reaction. Some Polish business person responded, this is the story of my grandfather. Of course not that man, but his grandfather was capable of escaping too. So there we have a Polish businessman in London who says, you must be kidding. Let's meet. So of course they met. They spoke about the film, but they spoke about so many more things. So this meeting became very emotional, very deep. And of course he decided, I will back this project. And then arranged for a presentation. I said, you producer, you will present your project to a number of investor friends of mine. I will take care of that, invite them, venue, ta-dum. So it happened. He went on the stage, promoted the film, and encouraged his fellow investors, who he of course was more or less friends with, to think about participating. And some did. So there was a substantial amount of equity financing coming out of this very strong personal relationship, which you cannot bank on. You don't know if you are able to create it or not, if it's there, but you need to try. And this is what they did. So that is one of those examples where good research really leads to a match that couldn't be better. The other example, at Astra Films in South France, the managing director, the owner of the company, took a different perspective or a different strategy. He created a service company in south of France and didn't know anyone. And south of France, that's Cannes, of course it's movies, of course it's red carpet. Everybody knows films, but there was no production company, and particularly not a service provider. So he said, okay, so I'm providing services and I will also develop own short films and see where I get. Cocktails, another little reception, another cocktail, another reception. He met a young guy networking with the local people who said, oh, I'm so-and-so, what are you doing? Oh, I'm a filmmaker. You are a what maker? Film? Okay. Tell me more. And so, young guy, happened to inherit some money. Mm-hmm. So you are doing films, and of course the ears were poking on the side of the producer, who then said, well, come visit, I tell you more about it, and if you're interested, why don't you invest a little amount in my short film? I'm developing this, that. Come, let's talk, I explain to you how this thing works. This is what they did. They met, and this young guy met the director of the short film in production and was more and more introduced and fell in love with these mad people who live on telling stories via films. He was totally fascinated. And so his 5,000 euros went into the short film. That film was produced. It was released, the recoupment happened positively and a little premium was paid. Good experience. The next film was in the pipeline. Of course, the producer said, so, shall we continue? And since they were already almost family, and there was, of course, another very interesting subject, that young man, young investor, said, yeah, cool, yeah, let's do that. I'm happy to invest 10,000 euros. Oops, double the amount. And what then happened was that I will cut it a bit short, with all the good festival experiences, the visibility, the red carpet experience. There is still some glamour in the film industry. He was very happy to again see the film is released, the film is bought, and everything is working, his money is returned, the premium is paid. So he spoke to a friend and said, look, it's so much fun, don't you want to participate? You know, they are doing another film and so on. So they engaged in a feature film together and invested 20,000. Good experience, next feature film. You can imagine that during this process, these young investors were educated in how the sector works. How is the monetization chain working? How do you do this whole thing? And who is involved? A fascinating yet relatable sector for people who have not been exposed to that. So what then happened was that they were participating, you know, in South by Southwest. They went to Cannes. They had this whole treatment, and in the course of, it was probably something like 3 to 4 years. Yes, it takes time. This young South French producer had educated investors who he then could bring to the next feature film. So I'm saying this in the bits and pieces and steps he took, because this is a very profound way of beginning to build an investor network. And what is important to take away is the ability, the willingness to speak to people who go like, how is this working? Tell me, educate me. And if you are happy with that, and you find it enjoyable, and you're not too stressed out to bring someone who might be in real estate or God knows what into your little production family, it can work in a very positive way. But it needs time investment, it needs your care, your love, all the current updates and all these things. So these were 2 examples of many, many more, of course, just to highlight a few things. Important is that in both cases, these were passion-driven investments. So we will talk about the return on investment expectations later. But this is probably one of the perspectives we will highlight also later on a little bit more, because passion counts. Then let's continue with a field that you might have experienced more than in other areas, product placement. Product placement, of course, is often misunderstood as a source of finance. Product placement is not a source of finance, but it can mean that you save on your production budget because of in-kind contributions. It can mean that you, and this is the most valuable part, that you actually engage in cross-promotion campaigns with your partners, brand partners. And I want to share with you a few dear examples that I really love and I find very special. After highlighting that typical things of product placement go in the direction of you show cars, accessories, you show brands in a shot, or of course clothing, you show certain products, technology. So for example, the latest laptop that company whatever is trying to market. Typical are, of course, all the sneakers in the world, you know. They are often featured in films. So the Omega Seamaster here, of course, is always at the wrist, or has been always at the wrist of Mr. Craig as Mr. Bond, James Bond. And so you find very interesting alliances right there. And the visibility of the product, of course, is very important when it comes to product placement. It's embedded in the name, so it doesn't need extra explanation, I suppose. However, the 2 dear famous examples are already a little bit dated. One is as old as the year 2000. And we are looking at, you might know this film, Castaway. Castaway, Tom Hanks being stranded on a lonely island, and all this crap is washed up to the shores of his very tiny island. And after this airplane crash, he needs everything. So whatever he opens, lots of FedEx boxes. And FedEx was not actually supporting the film, which is really strange. He unpacks things and, tries to make sense of all the things that he has, and he needs stuff to build a hat, and he needs stuff to cut the coconuts, and he needs many things, and he tries to improvise. And he gets so frustrated because he cannot open this damn coconut. It's resisting. And he is smashing his hand, at some point so heavily against, it might have been a stone or something, that he tried to crack the nut, that it starts bleeding. And then in this moment of anxiety, he just presses his hand on a volleyball that was washed up in a box, a Wilson volleyball. And booms, there he has his companion on the island, Wilson, a volleyball. And here you see a very tiny picture that actually he then creates. He has the bloody imprint on the ball and then begins to draw the lines for the face. So he's not alone anymore. Is this an ingenious idea? It's a stupid volleyball. It becomes a character. I think this is just brilliant. And the other example that goes a little bit in this direction is Windex. And we are in Greece. And you have seen my big fat Greek wedding. All of you, I suppose. If not, look at it. It's fabulous. It's such a wonderful comedy. And you might remember that the bride speaks about her father. And there's this wonderful quote, which I try to remember, where she says, my father believes in two things. That Greeks should educate non-Greeks about being Greek. You might agree. And that every ailment, from psoriasis to poison ivy, can be cured with Windex. What is Windex? It's a glass cleaner. So it's an introduction of something as profane as a glass cleaner, and then you see the father running around in the film with a bottle, spraying away anxieties because it's, the preparations for the big wedding, and everybody gets nervous, and another at something else. So Windex is a family member. So this is a wonderful, very thought-through approach in which, of course, the story writer, the script writer, was very conscious of how to embed that brand into the story narrative. A very wonderful way of doing this, I find. And then there are the typical in-kind contributions. And there's, of course, another anecdote of an independent French film that speaks about or tells the story of a group of elderly people, all alone, widowers, and one of them has a big villa, and they go like, so why don't we all live together? Which is actually the title of the movie. And in the script it says at some point, when they are moving in, then they are at some point deciding they want to build a pool, a swimming pool. So that's a simple line in a script. But as an independent producer, you go like, freaking hell, how am I going to pay for that? So the production design, head of production design, was going to a local fair, and that happened to be coincidental, happened to be in the region. It was happening in the region, so we went there and looked at all the stands and the people, and was thinking, how can we get one of those ready-made big pools? You have seen them all, they are super ugly. How can we get one of those things for the film without paying thousands and thousands and thousands of euros? How do we do that? So he spoke to one, I said, well, I see this pool, and and we are doing this film. It's not far from here, and I see your company is also from the region. Would you see a possibility that you might be able to help us with a swimming pool? That maybe kind of leaving open what it entails. And here on the right-hand side of the middle plaquette, you see a little bugger. And inside is the owner of the business, who not only contributed, in-kind contributed the pool, he also was digging the hole in the garden to place it. So he loved to be in the scene. His logo is visible in the scene of the film, so everybody understands what company was actually performing those services. So this is a very typical example. Now, if we look at champagne, if we look at other things they were able to secure, like a local butcher was delivering the meat and other things happened like that. All these in-kind contributions, of course, go with an expectation that you guys talk to the same target group. Your audience is basically the same audience that your product placement partners want to reach, which means you need to know your target audience, your target group. Who are you talking to? What message are you conveying to your audience? Super important, because on that message, on the level of the message, you will either agree to collaborate or you will say, maybe this is not a match. So have that in mind. It starts right there, knowing who you really address. Then we move on to the subject of patronage and sponsorship. And there has been a very interesting development between the year 2019 and 2023. Actually, you all know Saint Laurent in Paris, and you all know that Yves Saint Laurent has been designing the dresses for Catherine Deneuve in almost all of her films. So there was you could say Catherine Deneuve was the muse for Yves Saint Laurent. And the love for cinema was always part of that fashion maker's identity. And it created some kind of visibility because Catherine Deneuve was wearing his stuff. In the year 2019, there was, of course, Yves Saint Laurent was long gone. There was a new creative director on board of the fashion maker. And he followed this kind of tradition. And he kind of related, as he calls it, to the cinematic quality of the fashion line that Yves Saint Laurent is designing. And Anthony Vaccarello, this is his name, decided to actually go into action in a more obvious way. So in 2019, they began to curate short films, present short films they liked, and then transitioned to basically sponsoring the clothes against visibility, of course, being mentioned in the titles. And in 2023, made the first step after having created Saint Laurent Productions. So now we have a production house under the label of Saint Laurent that works with movies. And that collaboration goes way beyond designing the dresses or the clothes, costumes. So Saint Laurent Productions since 23 has been working with Pedro Almodovar, has been working with David Cronenberg. Those are just the names who have been making it to the festivals. Emilia Perez, you might have seen, has been, of course, enjoying the participation and co-production by Saint Laurent Productions. The last winner of Venice, Jim Jarmusch's Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, was co-produced by the company. So you see there's a lot of dedication, a lot of activity. If you go to their websites, you will be astonished how much they have done, and that the level of quality and well, let's call it cinematic quality, why not? He would be happy about that, is a real match. So the costumes, the dresses, everything, the designs, the films, the film language, it works perfectly well. And you might be aware that there is the Fondazione Parada. They created a film fund, and they have amongst their criteria, the typical, criteria, like you need to have secured a certain amount of financing in development and another amount of financing when you are in production and diddle-diddle-dum. But it is a very open, very transparent, and very agnostic fund profile. So this is a very interesting move, and again, from a fashion maker, to say, like Saint Laurent, we own all the catwalks in the world. We are on each and every catwalk. But the film industry can offer the red carpet. So this was a very nice way of adding value and, of course, establishing another kind of visibility for brands where you might think, well, do they really need that? Well, yes, they thought so. So this is another very interesting, kind of confirmation that also established brands, world-known brands, are looking for different types of visibility. They are looking for different and new kinds of potential clients and audiences to reach out to, and they want to portray themselves in a creative way, in an intelligent way, and not by placing ads somewhere. Does anyone of you know Patreon? And of course, I overlook the crowd of people we have been working together lately. Is anyone from the non-biased audience aware of Patreon? A hand? Well, we know that you know. Ah, there's one. Someone else? 2, 3? Brilliant. So I count 3, 4. 4 people. 5? The lady with the yellow? No, that was something else. Okay. So, perfect. So you can check emails while I explain. My Patreon is a very interesting alternative. It is the concept of patronage, which means we now look at you as an artist, a musician, a filmmaker, a contemporary artist, a painter, a sculptor, God knows, who has fans. And you bring your fans, the people who follow you, who love your work, to the platform of Patreon. And then you can engage your fans into subscribing, basically, by paying a monthly contribution that goes to you. You, the artist, the sculptor, painter, filmmaker. And every time you do something, you reach out to them, you tell them, okay, here's my latest song, or this is the storyboard for my next film. So they get access to something that no one else has access to. They are part of a community, they are informed. And they do this because they love your work. But they also want to, of course, get something in return. And that return is being recognized, being spoken to, being made part of a community, having access to maybe prime content, maybe something else that people are happy to offer. So Patreon is very important for many artists and uses, of course, some percentages, so between 5 and 12% of the raised amounts go to Patreon, and then they charge a kind of handling fee, if you like. So you keep a lot, and it gives you security. And it creates a completely different relationship between you and your fans and your followers and whoever you are talking to. So it's a very interesting way of turning your followers, your fans, your audience into paying supporters who love to do that because they appreciate your work. Now, moving on, this is a hilarious example. I don't know if anyone saw Mad Heidi. I would have been surprised if a hand goes up. Mad Heidi is not a B movie. It's probably a D movie. And it's purposefully made to be exactly that, Euro trash. And the producers actually brought someone. It's produced by Swiss A Film, and they were in contact with the Finnish company Blind Spot. Blind Spot doesn't exist anymore, which is a shame because they were doing Iron Sky. Does that ring a yeah? More fans of Iron Sky. The most ridiculous stuff you can imagine. I will not go into the storyline, but whoever is curious, check it out. It blows your mind. And Iron Sky was super successful. And Blind Spot, the management of Blind Spot had one guy who was an absolute master in communication and in marketing. So he used his expertise to create a fan base that he then in a crowd engagement campaign would mobilize, and they got feedback during festivals. They said, oh, well, you know, we are Berlinale, horrible February weather. We are hiding in this restaurant, you know, we will be here for another 2.5 hours or something. You want to meet us, come. And then people were lining up, you know. They were like, oh my God. So what is going on here? So it was quite funny. So they were very open, very interactive. They engaged with people physically and raised this whole interest about this complete nonsense they were producing, and they had the best time you can imagine doing this. Now, Blind Spot, of course, was smart and collected data with the consent of the people, had a database of fans, a big following. They were able to finance their film largely through that crowd that would pay sometimes significant amounts of money to be eaten in Iron Skies 2 by a dinosaur. So they came up with all sorts of weird things. They sold war bonds, because all of this is related to the Nazis who have been hiding on the black side, the dark side of the moon, and now they are coming back. And I think we can all confess they came back in a way or another. Nobody planned for that, but anyhow, so they went into the dinosaur thing, and it worked. People paid 5,000 euros to be eaten by a dinosaur in a film. I mean, it's just come up with stuff like this, and you finance a D movie, even like Mad Heidi. Mad Heidi builds on, of course, Heidi, Swiss Heidi, in the Swiss Alps. Most peaceful, everything is wonderful, everything is pleasant, but then. So she gets really, can you see it? She's really angry. And with her axe ready to kill and fight for her freedom. And they applied the same kind of logic to finance Mad Heidi. I want to read to you what they did. The production budget was $3.5 million US. The film was, it's called an action-adventure horror comedy from 22. They had an exclusive day and date release on a dedicated website. Then went to, of course, other platforms. And before they had started writing the screenplay, had already a long-tail strategy to market it. Again, there's the marketing genius. Investments mainly came from Switzerland and Germany, and from Japan. And of course, it makes sense because Japan created this beautiful animation series, and there was a big following in Japan. So 540 people from 20 countries invested 2 million Swiss franc. 2 million. And the budget was $3.5 million. They all got their money back, plus a premium as promised. They used blockchain technology, which was very smart because that offers transparency and reliability for everyone who's investing. And when you invested 500 Swiss francs and more, you would get privileges and maybe, I don't know exactly what happened then, but you would enjoy extra little service packages from the producers. 50,000 people from 46 countries bought merchandise of the value of $300,000. So the break even for this film was reached with 400,000 viewers. 75% of the income of the revenues remained, was distributed via Film Chain, this dedicated blockchain company that specializes in this kind of investment and payment structures, and 25 were remaining with the producers. So there you see that if you are strategic, you can actually pull anything off, anything. And this is what they did. They also used what you see here, NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and they were, very, very strategic in each step they did. Now I want to touch upon private equity project investment from the perspective of from the perspective of people expecting a return on investment, because this is usually what you hear. If you contact investors, you know they will expect a return, and this is, of course, a financial return in most cases. So I choose two different perspectives, because if you go into the area of a typical investor who says, okay, yeah, maybe this is an investment case for me, then this investor goes through a couple of questions. What are the revenue expectations? Do you have distribution? How big is the market share that you expect? Are you a trustworthy producer? Do you have a good track record? Do you deliver what you promised to deliver? Is it possible to do what you want to do in the current environment that they also want to understand? And when do they get their money back? It's clear that they want a first position in the waterfall, last in, first out, the typical. And not always will projects that we produce in Europe be able to say yes to everything. And we will go into this, particularly in our panel discussion. However, he was a very interesting guy who we met, me and my former business partner. He made his millions in real estate in Southeast Asia. He had no idea, no exposure to films, but he was curious. So we brought him to investment forums that we did and tried to bring him closer and educate him a little bit about the business models in the audiovisual sector. So he thought, yeah, cool, this is fun. The people are great. I like to hang out with them. And that is what he did. And he enjoyed it greatly. So I asked him at some point, now tell me your perspective of a return on investment. And he said, well, ideally, let me make my money back and give me something on top. And that on top does not necessarily have to be a premium, but it can be something else. A good experience, a great experience. Premieres for him, his business partners, family, friends, you name it. So what I basically learned is that someone like this investor, who is a heavy-duty, very typical investor, venture capital investor, if you want, is not necessarily expecting the big financial return. However, he's very interested in learning more about the returns you can give, which means great red carpet experience, the connection to very creative, super crazy people who are great fun to be with, and exposure to stories and to purpose-driven things that people invest years of their lives in. This is amazing. So he was very fascinated, and he wanted to contribute and participate and support. So there is this window of opportunity to create a return on investment that is entirely based on a good experience and added value in the sense of, now I understand how the sector works, I met incredible people in all this. So with that, you already have a little bit of a stretch, and then I want to finish with a quick example on what if you are in a situation where your company is also looking for investment because you want to do strategic steps with your company. So this is an example where a company based in Helsinki, Finland had created a successful preschool kid app, a television series in form of an app. It ranked high on Apple. Everybody was knocking on their door, and they said, okay, wait, hang on. We need to prepare for success. This is our one-time opportunity. If this is so good, and we have more IP we build or develop currently, we need to be really smart. So what they did is to ask themselves what they want. So they wanted, of course, money to do the next season for that particular television series. And they wanted to attract corporate finance to have a little bit of more planning security to avoid this kind of stressful project-based financing dynamic that you all know inside out. So what can be done? So we spoke, and I said, well, why don't we look at this market, understand the market, so that then in form of a study, you have material that you can put in front of equity investors. So that understand the market you are in, which, and this is something I did not know before, has a huge underserved potential back then. So that's what we did. The study was done, and then they looked for potential investors everywhere. Where did they find the investor then who would answer positively? Around the corner in Helsinki. And also this happened. So it's the IPRVC. It's one of the few equity funds that invests in projects, in companies, in IP, understands creative IP. This is not self-evident. And the investment that was happening had multiple layers, which was good for the investor. They could kind of mitigate the risk. They were happy. And the company was financing the television series and had 3 years of planning security and did not have to go this kind of breathless development, and had already a production, if you want to call it that. It's not quite accurate, but they had enough finance to further develop their IP portfolio to then go into the next projects and productions. So a win-win-win-win situation. So with this in mind, I would like to finish with probably one of the key learnings of all of this. There are two main things that are often overlooked and underestimated. When you want to reach out to investors, no matter what, for sponsoring, product placement, you need to connect on a value base. This is where you connect. If this connection has been established, you have a long-term relationship that you can extend and really build on. It will be reliable. The other thing that people often overlook is that investors, brands, companies are passionate about the stuff they do. So the investors I had the great luck of working with, they were passionate about their investments. The companies, the founders, they're crazy about the people they were working with. They loved them. And they would, at the end of investment forums, pitch them to each other. So it was so close to the passion that you all share, and that is a very strong connection. They want to see your passion, they love your passion, because they are very passionate about the stuff they are doing. So with that, I like to, or you like to invite our 4 members of the MIDPOINT program to share us. Shall we keep this in the background? Any idea, or do you have another slide you would put up? Perfect, thank you. So thanks for that, and ladies, please be so kind and join us so that we can go into the exchange.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Juliane. Please join us on stage. Let me briefly introduce our producers here. We have 2 ladies from Romania, Diana Caravia. Diana is a producer working with company Microfilm. She's been involved in the development and production of both features and documentaries by acclaimed directors such as Radu Judek, Alexandru Solomon, and Ivana Mladenovic, as well as new voices from the Romanian scene. Another guest from Romania, Eliza Ceprazaru. Eliza came from the area of performing arts to film. She joined the team of Libra Film and Point Film of Tudor Giurgiu, where she now works on a variety of projects, shorts, features, documentaries, and she is also part of the organizing team of Transylvania International Film Festival. Next up, Michelle Brøndum. Michelle is originally from Denmark. Now she's based in the UK, and she's founder of Jante Films, a London-based company which is focusing on genre-bending European co-productions. Last but certainly not least, we have a local guest, Mina Dreki from Greece. Mina is a producer who works across shorts, documentaries, and features. She is managing director at production company Marni Films, and Mina is also a member of Greek Film Academy and alumna of many great training initiatives, Rotterdam Lab, ACE, EAVE, and of course MIDPOINT. So we have these wonderful ladies here with us, all alumni of our programs, and they are willing to share with you their experience, good, bad practices, and basically have a discussion. So maybe Juliane, if you want to kick off with a question now.
Super, thank you so much. And I would like to start with you, Eliza, because you are exposed to this whole universe of alternative financing, yeah, more or less freshly exposed. And I would like to hear your response to this. Is this an avenue that you find interesting, that you want to explore? Does it make sense?
Thank you, both of you, and thank you for the invitation. It's very lovely being here in front of people. Everything that you went over and what we went over together during MIDPOINT is definitely a lot of food for thought. So allow me to start by shooting myself in the leg and saying that I have this film in late development. I'm dying to get it into production. We got the funds from the Romanian Film Center, and now we are looking for co-producers. Why? Because we need more money. Of course, we can make it make sense. This story takes place in Bucharest, Romania. we can make it make sense. There's always like good post-production abroad. We're looking for talent to add to the team, and there's always the beauty of bringing together people from different cultures and working together, right? But I feel like we work so much to just get these funds and just get this money. So on that note, I would say alternative financing, that would be great. But at the same time, I'm from Romania, all right? And we do art house, and we do auteur films, and we don't do commercial films. I mean, just recently I was thinking as I was listening to what you were saying, just recently I met a friend of mine. She's a producer for such commercial films. I mean, full-blown commercial, like sellable names, pretty relatable story. People flock to the cinemas to see them. And I asked her, how is it going? The film was in cinemas, it probably still is. And she was like, good. I was a bit nervous at first, but like in 2 weeks, we got back all our money. I'm like, that must be nice. That must be nice. Not happening really. That's really the case with the films we make. So that there's the challenge, the leverage that we don't really have when we go to these private investors and when we tell them, come on, invest in our film because I will put your logo in the credits roll, but the cinema will turn up the lights and everyone will leave by the time your logo shows up. But there's also the poster, and we'll have a nice glass of Prosecco at the openings. Sure, yeah, it does happen. It does happen sometimes. Like Tudor Giurgiu is a big name. He does attract this kind of fans, but not really the directors that we do their first and second features at Point Films. And it's tricky. It doesn't mean it shouldn't be done. It doesn't mean it shouldn't be, something that you try again and again and again and perfect the approach and give it another shot, because every story, every movie is different. Okay, so I will go back now and I will do this alternative financing to get my film into production. With or without a co-producer, I will find a co-producer at least. It's okay. I'm sure Diana will also share more about the scene in Romania, so I will invite her to, or who is next? I don't know. You do. You're the boss here.
There is no order, but thank you very much. You're reading my thoughts, exactly. Because there's a complementary experience that you already have, and it would be fantastic if you share it with us.
So thank you, Elisa, for passing the mic. I can share a lot of your experience, it's difficult to find alternative sources of financing, but I think what having Juliane teach us during this company time, and she has this amazing energy that makes it feel like anything is possible. And maybe we forget that sometimes. Maybe we forget that, okay, you will write to, 20 people, 20 investors, and you don't think that there is a chance because we make auteur films. We rarely have enough return on investment to be attractive to investors, but there are cases, and I've experienced them, in which investors, they have 10K, 20K that are disposable, and they want to buy an experience, not really to get their money back. That's possible. We had that happen, and they want, their name to be associated with an author that is, innovative, changing maybe the face of European cinema, and to go to, whatever big festival that the film will premiere in, hopefully will, and most of the times does. So it's good to remember that it's worth trying, and it sometimes happens, even though our films are not super commercial. I think there's a chance. What we have in our company is that we actually have a person who is dedicated to finding kind of alternative sources of financing. She works part-time, and she's the type of person who, you kick out on what door and comes back on the window, which is something I can't do. I'm too shy for this kind of thing, and I really appreciate her fire, the fire inside her that makes her keep going, even though she gets a lot of no's. So, for example, we had a short film, 3 days of shooting. We got in-kind food and craft catering, even from a very big fast food chain that we all know, and they didn't even want their logo on the film. They were like, okay, just you can eat from us. So there are small things that can happen, and I encourage you to get from Juliane's I know, good vibe, and try.
Thank you. I hope you feel encouraged. And in-kind contributions, of course, help a lot with the size of production budget, so that should not be overlooked. So it, in the entrance, leads into savings that can be substantial. In this case of the pool, you remember, that was a substantial cost saving on that side. Michelle, you have made your hands dirty already. You tried a few things, and you have different experiences with your attempts to secure alternative financing.
Yeah. First of all, I'm definitely no expert on the subject like Juliane, but I have done a few projects where we've had to be creative with finding either the gap or figuring out just how we're going to make it all work. And I guess a recent example would be a stop motion animation that was a co-production with Norway and Sweden. And we got a good amount of funding from the public funders, but in the end we were still missing a gap. And at the time in the UK, there wasn't really any sort of public funding for animation. So we did try and reach out to some obviously very well-established animation companies, but it was, I think the project was also too far along. There wasn't really any creative input to be had from those companies, and so that didn't turn out to be viable. And so in the end, we ended up doing that thing of emailing a lot of people. I think I sent over 100 emails in a few days, and it was all I was doing, and I was researching, and I was trying to make it personal. And we eventually, the film was about motherhood, and the core team behind it was, we were all women, and we ended up finding a charity who was supporting women artists and female artists, and I think we caught them at a really good time. It was a big anniversary for them that year, the year after. It was the year after, and even though they were supporting women in various ventures, they didn't actually have a lot of visual material to use as marketing for themselves. So they would support women in research, but obviously a lot of that is written. It's not very snazzy and in like advertisement. So we couldn't promise them that we could finish the film before the anniversary, but what we could promise them was that we could provide them with at least, we knew we would have shot some of it, so we could provide them with material that they could use for their big sort of anniversary coming up, their marketing, their sort of publicity materials that they were sending to their partners. And so we ended up closing our gap that way. And that was very, very great.
Lovely, yeah, that's a happy end. That helps. And you guys already mentioned, and this is a kind of recurring concern, obviously, in smaller markets in Europe, to say it's very difficult for us to recoup. And if we have someone who contributes financially, we cannot promise a financial return. And this is, of course, something that you, Mina, experienced as well. And you tried anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, honesty is something. It's a good strategy from the beginning. So when I have meetings with potential investors, I'm very transparent from the beginning, and I'm telling them when you invest in film, you don't expect monetary return, but what you can expect is, I would say, a word that can encompass it is impact. So as this lady from the UK, which I forget her name now, Michelle, mentioned, getting money from a charity is basically, kind of understanding what the other party wants, what the other investor wants, and aligning this purpose so that you have the film and it can fit in both their purpose and your purpose. So I guess it's about the idea first and then the practicalities, because most of the investors or most of the people who would come on board with in-kind contributions or with deferrals even, they share something with you. It's a vision, it's an idea, it's a credit, anything. But you have to be from the beginning very clear about what this is and basically believe in it so much that they come on board as well. So that's, I guess, my main approach.
Yeah, that's very useful, and I think you already get a couple of very important key takeaways. It's about thorough research to understand who to reach out to. On what basis do you reach out to? Depending on the subject you are covering, for example, documentaries are always more or less purpose-driven, aren't they? So you have a strong drive to tell a story, to bring something to light. And that purpose is often shared with individuals, with institutions, funds, foundations, and so on. So research can help you to find natural allies right there. So the purpose is a profoundly important starting point, because you should share that purpose. I speak of values, which are even broader, because if you, for example, like you, Michelle, have a 10-point catalog of how you want to work and how you want people to work with you, it goes even further in how you actually produce. So the value system is very, very important, and this rings more and more a bell with companies and also individual investors who say, I find this very valuable and I want to support this. And in a sector that is so exploitive and self-exploitive, it's so important that we pay attention to each other's well-being and treat ourselves also with respect. So I think this is something, for example, that is also often taken for granted. Of course I'm shooting green. Of course I'm treating my people polite and nice. Well, it's not necessarily a given, and I think you all know that. So it should be part of your proposition. It should be part also of the research you do to find the natural allies, to find people with, when we speak of, let's say, the smaller markets and the lesser expectations for financial returns, that you say, okay, here are the things that I can really promise. This is what I can deliver. And you also mentioned, Diana, that you had a good experience with a post-production house that you were able to bring on board. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I guess also super important, but I guess a lot of us here know, is to have long-term collaborations and to support each other in the industry. So especially with documentaries and short films where there's very small financing available, public financing, we tend to collaborate with the post-production company who are very supportive, and we share a lot of the same values, and they help us bring these films to life. And I think what's important, and how I deal with this, because I'm sure a lot of producers have these types of long-term collaborations, is that I want to give something back, at least for the big projects that, for example, big co-productions that I bring to Romania. I always go for them because also they're super good, but also because it's, I want us to have a collaboration where we both help each other grow. And I think they appreciate that, so that's been very helpful, at least, as I said, for short films and documentaries where it's super difficult.
And I've seen this in my personal consultancy experience. many, many times that the collaboration between post houses or special effect houses and film production companies who could never, ever, ever, ever afford to pay for that incredible post on those incredibly and super expensive effects, were able to bring exquisite studios on board because those studios were interested to move into feature films. They were interested in basically sharing rights. They wanted to be part of the rights, the trade of rights in that sense, and not only be the last one who was polishing a shot that happens to be not quite like it should look like, and so on. So they were much more ambitious, and they saw their own future as a company, as a co-production partner. So when you offer something like this, there is often a likelihood that you can team up. And I've seen in the past that those first collaborations on the project then lead to substantial talks between the owners of the companies, and sometimes they merge because they see there's so much added value to offer combined services, access to the tax credits, to the funds, plus the know-how in the more technical-oriented studios and so on. So you never know where it leads you, and therefore the long-lasting relationship that you want to invest in is super important. Michelle, you have also tried the equity a bit and are testing the waters a little.
Yeah, I probably can't go into too many specifics, but I am working with a private investor on one project, and that's been I mean, a wonderful opportunity. And unfortunately, it wasn't. It was something that kind of fell into my lap rather than somebody I went out and found. So that was fortunate, but also means I can't really offer a lot of good advice on where to find them because they are out there. But I think my takeaway from that relationship that I'm building there is we're creating something at the moment that is quite small and contained, but with the view to be something much bigger in 2 years. And I think it's, you know, I mean, I think the takeaway is that sometimes maybe it's trying to establish those connections early on with smaller asks are easier because it's become very apparent through the process of the project we're developing together right now that this collaboration does really work, and both for the investor but also for me. And I think that's also important because if you are working with a private investor, sometimes that I think, you know, because they aren't just the film funders who will give you the money and sort of, you know, let you go on and obviously check in, but you know, you got a lot of agency yourself. But if the partner expects something, and so, you know, we are doing weekly calls and stuff, and that's all right for me, but it might not be everybody's style, and that partner might want more from you than you had expected at first, or more creative input than they maybe were suggesting at first. And so, yeah, maybe a takeaway would be that sometimes starting on something smaller together, trying out the waters or feeling out the waters, whatever, is a great way to see if it could be something bigger, and then you got that contact ready for when you need it, and when you got something ready to present. And yeah.
Thank you very much. This is very true. I can only confirm. Mina, you are a local perspective. Of course, is kind of similar. It's a small market. Your public fund, we learned yesterday, invests 63 cents. Oh, good Lord. This is, I mean, they should stop it altogether almost, you know. I mean, this is so ridiculous. It's almost an insult.
But we still have to fight for it.
Yes,
so.
yeah, exactly. So, but from your perspective, navigating these difficult waters and not having crashed your vessel yet, what would you share with everyone? What did you take away? What did you learn? What makes you so stubborn?
Okay, well, basically, it's the team, it's the people, the artists, the crews, the cast, everyone. I did a project last year that is presenting tomorrow out of competition with commissioned by the Greek Film Academy. And we didn't have like loads of money to do it. And I called up everyone in the industry that I knew. And they were all so happy to participate for, I wouldn't say how much, but it was not even, it was a symbolic fee. And going on set with these people, knowing that they're not getting paid enough, the kind of solidarity that was created among us was, I think it's a motivation to continue doing this job for me.
Yeah, that's a very strong conviction. Very empowering, and of course we should not translate this into self-exploitation. That's not...
No, we still fight for it.
Yes, exactly. Now, we would love to hear your questions and your experiences. Who has, maybe you raise your hand, worked with alternative financing sources in whatever shape and form? Good. 1, 2, 3, 4. Brilliant. 5. Okay, so we have a problem. Fantastic. This is what I hoped. You have been raising your hand, is that correct? No, someone here has been. No, this is horrible. I see you have been. The young gentleman, yes, with the glasses hanging at his shirt. Maybe you want to start, because I will bypass the midpoint participants. I'm so sorry. Tell us.
Thank you for everything. She's the producer, actually. So she did the job. I was just looking. Yes, we are just students. We are 22 years old. And we are studying here in Thessaloniki. So we make films in a very DIY way. So probably not in this level that you are talking about, but we try to figure out how we can earn money. Yes, probably most of the times with sponsors and people who just want to help because they believe to what we do. What else do you think? What's your experience as a producer starting?
Hello, thank you so much. So it's a difficult thing to raise money for your short film, and a lot of people didn't trust us for that, but the thing is that we tried, as you said, with your experiences, and I think that we need to try harder so that we can raise money and show our work by that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for your commitment, and we all cross fingers.
Let's hope. Thank you.
Could you pass the microphone to the gentleman just in front of you? You have been raising your hand as well. Let's hear your thoughts and experiences.
Well, I have to go back way when I got out of film school many years ago in New York. We had no money to shoot anything, so we had to be very inventive. And I just have a few anecdotes. I'll try to keep as brief as possible, which was that I needed to shoot in Alphabetville, which is a place down in southern Manhattan, very dangerous. No one lives there anymore. And I had to shoot in the street, and I contacted the local chapter of the Bandidos, which is a motorcycle gang. And I said, well, could you help us? And they said, yeah, what do you want? said, well, we need a motorcycle gang, and we have to secure the road. They said, well, you know, we'll do this for 3 six-packs, which was extremely cheap. 6 packs of beer for those people, though. All right. And then later I needed a stunt driver, and I went to the Hells Angels, and I almost lost my life in shooting in their building because no one was allowed in there. But as it turned out, the head of the Hells Angels was a professional stunt driver. And he did his stunt perfectly for nothing. And yeah, so my film came together that way. And I just remembered I was driving out to Pennsylvania into the mountains with my actors, and we're supposed to be shooting a scene in a pickup truck, but we didn't have a pickup truck. So we're driving through the mountains, and suddenly there's that pickup truck, which was perfect from the 50s. It was important, you know, to pinpoint the time because of the type of a pickup. And I just drove up to the farmer's house and asked the guy, can we use your pickup? He said, yeah, sure, you know, go. So I spent all day in his pickup shooting this incredible scene. And we saved so much money just doing things like that. And it's just about going out and asking people, you know, do you have this? You know, can we use that? It's not about money. It's really about just any kind of thing that you need at that moment. And usually it's right there.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing this. This is amazing. And if we
fun.
may hear just very quickly, there was the lady in the white shirt in the back. I think you have been raising your hand as well. Let us quickly hear what you experienced.
Yes. Hello. Oh, hi. Thank you. Hi, just very quickly, actually we are in the process of a crowdfunding campaign right now. So yeah, we are in the, we're looking for funds for post-production for our short film. And I'm finding it very hard because we are quite shy, I guess, to promoting it. I would like maybe some advice for how to kind of go about it and, you know, to take advantage of the crowdfunding campaign that we just launched.
Let's talk about it after the session. You find me outside.
I would love to. Thank you.
Super. I thank you very, very much. Thank you to our lovely panel. Thank you for being with us. And maybe let me finish with a last key learning in relation to this. I learned that you gain creative independence if you work with people who believe what you believe. Sonja, the final word is yours.
Thank you so much, Juliane. Thank you, all the ladies. Thank you, Agora. I can maybe finish with a suggestion to our future participants, because we actually had a wonderful example again from short films. We had this team from Moldova, and you can imagine that in Moldova it's quite difficult to get money for participation fee for midpoint programs. But they did exactly that. They were going around and asking people, and they found this tech company which is totally not connected to film industry. And they just asked them, listen, we need like a few hundreds euros for our participation fee for midpoint shorts. And they got it. And like for a few Instagram posts where they tagged the tech company, everything was covered. Now the short film was developed with us, financed. Now it's in post-production. I guess this is maybe for you young generation. If your film fund is not supporting participation fees, you can try different options. Plus, MIDPOINT also offers partial scholarship. So thank you everyone for coming, and talk to you later.